Welcome back. We're here with Wisper. This is a City of Vandals podcast, episode number 28. And Wisper invited me over to his studio over here. This place is so dope, dude. Who'd you say owns this? This is like a warehouse that you guys basically use the space for it?
Yeah, so the warehouse is owned by Mannix family, or they rent out a certain part of it because it goes from Keys to Martha, the whole building.
Yeah, it's a huge
building. So
building.
they use a certain part of the warehouse for their business. And then they cleared out some spaces to make some studio spaces for different artists.
Yeah, man, this is a dope space to have, man.
It's called The Spot.
The Spot.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for having me over here, Wisper. It's nice to meet you and everything. We are, we're closing in on summertime coming through, and a lot more events coming up. Yeah, when was the last event that you just had? You had like an art show or something?
So we had a woman's call to art, but that was the brainchild of Alba Racal. One of the members of TWC, because she wanted to celebrate Women's Month, Women's History, and she wanted for us to build our roster of artists, but more females. And so a lot of women want to try to do live painting on a larger scale, but they've never done it before, so there's that apprehension, the anxiety, and so we made a safe space to where it wasn't an event, because it wasn't like open to the public and a lot of music and everything, but they still had the time frame, so that was a little bit of pressure, and then there's always the pressure to perform.
Yeah.
So, but that just goes to show that they had the potential, because everybody did a really good job. And now we built up our roster by, I think, 18 new artists, which is really good for us.
Yeah, yeah. When did Together We Create start? Like, who started that?
So Together We Create the old graffiti group.
Okay.
Before
TWC.
Yeah. So,
but I just thought the actual
so this
muralist.
when we resurrected it, it was about 2016 or 17.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen Messenger and everybody pulling up to different spots. I remember I went to one that was outside of the Sharks, what's it called?
For Viva Calle.
Yeah. That was a really nice. Yeah, in front of the Shark Tank. That was a sick ass event, honestly. So let's go into your history of graffiti, or how did you start? I mean, you obviously do a lot of different characters. You're really into animals and stuff. Why is that so? Why were you always like that when you were younger? Were you always sketching something and transitioned into letters, or were you just first starting out with the basics of graffiti and then getting into characters and stuff like that?
Well, I was inspired by my mom, because she was a self-taught artist. She used to do a number of things, from embroidery to painting rocks before there was a pet rock.
Oh, okay.
And she used to do portraits and just everything, but it was just all self-taught. She never went to school, and so seeing that at a young age, I started drawing characters from comic books and the funny pages, Sunday comics, at about 10 years old. And then when graffiti started, while hip-hop, I got involved in hip-hop. I was a break dancer first, and we used to do a little bit of graffiti, but it was more just tagging. It wasn't until later on when we started bombing, and then we started seeing copies of Subway art, and we started seeing how the East Coast was way more. They were 10 years ahead of us, because they started in the 70s, in the 70s they started before the 70s, but by the 70s they were already doing wild style, and we had not even started yet doing wild style. The only one that I know that was doing wild style was Nexus, because and part of it was because one of the homies that he met came from the East Coast and introduced him to graffiti, and so that's why Nexus 2 had a little bit of edge, but he put in a lot of work. He put in just like anything, you put in the work, you're gonna get the rewards. But so we were all in the pioneer times in the early 80s when hip hop was at its strongest, barely coming forth from Breaking and Beat Street and all of those movies. And then we started seeing the books in the libraries like Subway Art and Spray Can Art, and those all had influences upon us. And so I used to do part of being a well-rounded artist, and especially in graffiti. You wanted to be well-rounded. You wanted to do lettering, characters. That was part of the thing. To be more versatile, as well as original. That was it was very frowned upon for you to not have your own style, your own name. So. Ingenuity was big. It was a big factor. There was, of course, if you were in a crew, then people would influence each other in that crew, and they would have similar styles, and that was okay and understandable because you're part of that crew. But for you to not be a part of that crew and you have someone else's style, was very frowned upon.
I know, man. I mean, obviously, I've been flicking graffiti for only a few years now, but I'm seeing San Jose at least like change so much, where it's like there's still a lot of people out here that have their own original style, but then there's also a lot of like toys that you could tell they definitely copy their other styles from other people, or they just have like one throwy and then they do that all over the place. But I mean, how do you think that can change? And in my opinion, I feel like the only thing that can happen is if like OGs, like people that actually know the basics, have to like bring them under their wing and tell them like, hey, like this is how you're supposed to do it and blah blah blah. But it just seems like the generation nowadays don't want to listen to nobody, man. It's just like they're just going out there just doing whatever the hell they want, but even using the same recycled letters over and over and stuff. Like
I would say it's kind of hard too, because like especially with social media, even if you weren't necessarily trying to mimic somebody, because you've seen it, you can't help but imitate that. Because even some of the block letters that were originally used by graffiti artists, some of the people like King even said it, and I done it myself. We took it from cholos, the cholo block letters.
Right.
So we didn't copy it exactly. But it was that influence there. Because King, a lot of his family was involved in gang lifestyle, as well as mine. So, and then I was gang member as well too. But so that plays a part in the influence. But at the same time, I think that it's possible for somebody to develop their own style, but they have to want to do that. They have to sit there and put in the time and the practice and to be creative and to find something new within themselves.
Were you always Wisper?
Yeah.
But you didn't have any other different names back?
Well, I was going by Shadow before, like way back, and then when I seen that there was a Shadow on the East Coast, then I had to change my name because
Yeah, these kids nowadays don't care if there's other people with their names. Like there's like a million different there's a bunch of you'll find it, and that's what it is about social media. I mean, do you kind of feel like it's kind of helped graffiti, or has it kind of like ruined it in a way for the creativity, you know?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It helps in creativity because, like, for myself and for a lot of graffiti artists that I know and artists in general, is when they see someone else doing something, they're inspired to better their craft and their style and to perform more. And it's not so much competition, but it's like, hey, this guy's coming strong. I want to come strong too. For me, though, not because I want to be better than somebody. Because there's always, it's not about, that's not never the goal. It's just for you to be the best artist that you could be, you know. And so I think that part, the social media really inspired. Because I know when I got out of prison and I started seeing where everybody was at, I was like, dang, I need to, you know, kick it up.
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because what I was doing was, you know, just hella old, and you know, and took a long time.
Was there like some pushback from like the gang life of them being like, what the hell you doing? Like, you got to put in work for the actual gang instead of the streets? Or were they kind of like supportive of your graffiti? Like, because, you know, I mean, it does stem from like a lot of people that were in that lifestyle also did graffiti too. So I don't know if it was
well, when I was doing both, before I went to prison, you know, I was pretty much, how do you say, we didn't really belong to a certain gang. We had a little crew that we kicked it with, and it was a lot of it was my family and friends, but so nobody was ever dictating anything, you know, so that I didn't really have that. But when I went to prison and stuff, it was definitely different, you know. I really ceased so much. I was more a gang member than I was anything else when I was in prison. When I came home, I left everything else behind. You know, I came home just an artist, you know.
Yeah. How long did you do up in prison? How many?
Almost 24 years.
Jesus. Wow, man. That's a long ass time.
Yeah, so I was gone from 89 till 2013.
Damn. So when you got out, obviously.
That's why I say everything was changed.
Everything was yeah.
You know, all the graffiti was like way, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, way different.
Yeah.
More intricate, more obviously just people painting everything instead of just certain things. Like people used to just paint trains. Now it's not like a dying thing, you know. People still paint trains, but it's like when you talk about like our city. Were you always from San Jose? My bad. Okay. Yeah. We don't. I mean, the only yards I can think of are like Milpitas and stuff. So, and then that interview with Vex, he kind of went into like the history of how it was out here in that time. So it was really good to hear about that. But let's talk about like Lords. Like for the people who don't know, who started Lords? Was it?
So Lords was started by Bizarre.
Right.
You know, he was the
R.I.P. Bizarre. Yep.
Yeah, he was founder. And then we were all in TWC before Lords. It was me, Biz, and Snow, and Shen, who was, you know, now they dub her the female queen of the West Coast, because at that time, and Po One, he was the fifth member. He was the one that came up with Together We Create that name. And so Shen, there was, I believe there was some female taggers and maybe even some female bombers, but Shen was doing pieces, you know, and burners, you know, with Picasso and ourselves, and you know, so she was right up there with the cream of the crop, you know, and there was no one else doing it like she was doing it back then. Yeah. And so, but you know, we I don't know why we stopped. We still used to write TWC, but Biz just came up with that that name, and then he was already, because he used to always go all over San Jose, and so he started recruiting other guys, and I believe there was like 14 of us, and we were the founding members. It was Poe and Biz and Tezicon, Def Rock, Neon. There was quite a few. I can't really remember everybody's name because a lot of times we were so high all the time and drinking and everything. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff is like real blurry.
You still smoke? Smoke weed? No. Yeah, I low key quit too. I mean, years of just smoking, it's just like it got pretty fucking old. You know what I mean? And it sometimes keeps you creative, but and other times it's like, all right, I'm just trying to get stoned for whatever reason. Nowadays, obviously the weed is just fucking strong as hell. You know what I mean? Back then, I don't know, man. But so were you there during the time where CBS started painting with Lords?
No,
like there was that click
I
up?
was inside.
Okay.
Yeah, but Biz used to keep in touch with me. Messenger used to keep in touch with me. Poe occasionally, but though Mess and Biz, he used to keep in touch with me a lot. And Biz used to send me pictures. So did Mess, but he was the one that told me about CBS and stuff. And then plus, it was in the pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
That he used to send me.
Okay. Was there anything that you remember that stuck out to you, like one of your biggest pieces, your favorite places to paint, like here in San Jose or beyond?
We used to go to Branham Walls a lot.
Okay.
That was the place that we used to go to because at that time I was staying out here on off of Almaden, and then I was staying over there off of Branham, and so it wasn't too far from where we were at. So, and then Poe was staying out here in New Almaden too, so
yeah,
it was it was always close.
Okay.
And then at that time too, the Walls of Fame had already got hot. It there weren't a lot of people painting there anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was just too much attention. They had already done a sting, the task force, where they said they were going to do like a documentary, and they wanted to follow people around, and they.
Oh, that's why fools don't trust people like me.
And so,
man, that's a fucked up sting.
And so they got all kinds of people, And then they used to have vans, and they used to just drive around downtown, and they'd just be watching and trying to catch people and stuff.
Oh my God! What years were this? What was this?
In the mid '80s.
Damn.
And they caught a few people,
I feel like nowadays they don't care too much to be doing that. I mean, they just spend so much money on buffing everything here and there, like the freeways and everything. Just everything's getting. San Jose is known for its like buff. Like, was it like that back then too, or was it more grilled everywhere?
I don't think it lasted. It would get buffed. I don't remember anything like running a long time. It would get buffed, but that was just all part of the game.
Yeah.
It's like, just go back and get up again.
Okay. Is there so did we talk about any shows you have coming up?
The nearest one is March 15th through the 17th, Mexico New Year.
Okay.
We do that annually. And then we have CAPS, I believe it's April 27th at the Latino College Prep Academy.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, I've noticed a lot more murals going up in San Jose. Did you link up with Culture One?
Yeah, it was mainly by accident. I just went to support, because I seen they had initially Andrew had initially hit me up because he knows a lot of different artists, and he seen that we were painting at Viva Calle, and so he asked if one of his friends who paints could get a spot, and I told him, well, we already fill them up beforehand, we're already anticipated, and when we announce it, all the spots are gone.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do like we don't do artist call,
Mm-hmm.
And so I told him, maybe next time, and let me see his page so we could evaluate him and contact him and stuff like that, and see if it's somebody that we want to bring out. Of course, it has to be made by group decision. Not one person gets to decide as to, who gets to come out and paint. So that's what I told him, and then later on he opened up that shop, the gallery, and it was like gallery shop, and I just went to go support, and then we connected, and
yeah, that was cool. I'd seen I think you did a wolf on the side in the parking lot in the back.
Oh,
right there.
yeah, I had started it, and then because I work full time, so it's not always easy, and plus it wasn't necessarily paid, so it was like I'm not gonna sit here and devote the time for a free mural that I'm just doing on my own, and when I got other things that I'm getting paid for, that takes priority first. And then so then they had a show, and somebody was here from San Diego, I believe, and they were looking for a spot, and he asked me if it would be okay. I was like, yeah, he could paint there, so he painted over it.
And I almost forgot about that whole wall. There's that huge
and
Lord's
plus we
wall.
we already had done our collaboration, so
okay.
With the Mess and Monos and Horrible and Swipe,
right.
So
yeah, that was sick. Hopefully that spot lasts for forever, because
it's the first Lord's collaboration production in San Jose.
No way.
That's what I said.
That's crazy.
It's not only my first Lord's production, because they had other Lord's productions in the city and Oakland and stuff like that.
But not in San Jose.
Not in San Jose. It's because it's hard for us to get walls out here.
Yeah.
Graffiti's so frowned upon, even when it's well done like that.
Yeah. That was I flicked it many times. It's such a sick ass wall, and damn, man, that's crazy to hear that it's literally the first, and it's been since the 80s that the crew's been around.
Yeah,
that's almost unheard of, because it started in San Jose.
Yeah,
so San Jose original crew. It's funny, I've went out and painted a couple times, and I always heard about dudes just trying to get into Lords, not just because of its age and how it's been around for a long time, but why do you think people want to be in Lords so much?
Because, one of the things Biz was always, when he started recruiting people, he wanted that versatility. He wanted people that, of course, there were some people who could tag, bomb, do pieces, characters, and there was some people that could just, tag and bomb, and then there was some people that were just mainly specializing in pieces, so then you had a variety, so then it would balance everything out, and it was almost like a football team, or a baseball team. If you just have a bunch of pitchers and no hitters, then you can't play.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
So he thought about it, and he was strategic, and he said, we got these guys, we'll go tear the city up, and these guys will do all the pieces and give us the notoriety, for that.
The whole Lord's crew has a lot of people looking up to them in San Jose for sure, and it's been like that for a very long time. It's
well, that's one of the things we tell people too, is when they come in crew, it's now that you're here, it's not like you've reached the top. It doesn't stop. Your development as an artist is supposed to continue.
And I want to see more Lords out. It's always such a big deal when you see something, and tunnels, wherever, random spots. You go to the San Jose Wall of Fame, you barely see anything out in there anymore. It's just kind of like the recent local writers out here. I mean, I don't know. I want to see a change for San Jose. Honestly, it's I hope that interviews like this will get people to look at San Jose in a different light and not just like think graffiti started on the East Coast, which, you know, some of it pretty much did. They did a lot more, you know, on the East, but you know, San Jose's lords, you know, basically put West Coast graffiti on the map, you know. So it's just crazy to see, you know, and know something from out here. I mean, this is I've been wanting a Lord's interview for a long time, ever since I started. So to have this, it's great, bro. So I appreciate your time and everything. The owl?
Yeah. So this is, I was connected with the museum in Los Gatos through Local Color. And they're an organization that works with other organizations or businesses to connect local artists with whatever business or organization is looking for artists to help them with some design work, a mural. And so the museum in Los Gatos was looking for somebody to do a mini mural and show like the stages of a mural, because like a lot of people don't know a lot about muralism and how it begins in its infancy stage, how it looks in the middle, and so they wanted to see the transitions. And so these pieces are up in display and throughout the time. So if you keep going once a week, you could see different transitions taking place within the mural. So there's 5 of them, and they're 6 feet in length and 5 feet high.
That's on like a...
So it's on canvas.
Oh, okay. Okay, damn, that's sick.
And so it's basically paying tribute to Los Gatos, because they wanted like a little bit of the untold story of Los Gatos. And so we always think, we know Los Gatos means the cats.
Yeah.
But it's like, why did they name their city the Cats, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but so there was a hacienda there, started by 2 Mexicans when this was Mexico. And they got a land grant from Mexico to build a hacienda there. And they held land in Los Gatos, Santa Clara, San Jose, Campbell, and one other city. So they held all that land, you know, so they were really well off and everything. But they called their hacienda there Los Gatos de Rincozada, which means the Cat's Corner, because their hacienda was between 2 mountain ridges, and there was mountain lions there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could hear their presence and probably see them too. So that's why they called it the Los Gatos de Rincozada.
Probably a lot more then than there is now. Now you see a mountain lion, you're like, holy shit. Like, yeah. I rarely see them unless you go up into the mountains, like up here, or even in Pacifica. My cousin lives out there, and he was on the news one time because he saw one, and they like interviewed him. Like, it was like such a big deal, like to see a damn mountain lion go knock over his trash can or some shit, and he got it on a Ring camera or some random shit. No, yeah, like, damn, I didn't know that history of Los Gatos at all.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
So then there's some images. There's image of, I put a big mountain lion, so it's like the spirit, you know, and so it's big like this owl. And then it has some cactus with a sombrero on it to give homage to Mexico. And then it has the Chinese railway workers, because of course they helped not just in Los Gatos but throughout California and the United States in building the railway. And then it has the centerpiece. One of the centerpieces is a hacienda with the woman kneeling down looking into a pond, a fountain, and but she's gonna be in modern time, like now, but her reflection is gonna be her past. So it goes to show, like, you know, cultures intermarrying, you know, and that we're not all that different, you know, and we shouldn't be so divisive and hateful towards one another,
or even
because we're all human,
right?
Bottom line.
And you got to know your past too. You should be influenced by your culture and know where you've came from and things like that, because that's who you are. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then then it transitions over to the Ohlone dancers, because
Okay.
you know they were indigenous to this land, and then it transitions to downtown Los Gatos and downtown San Jose, and I merge it together because even though Los Gatos isn't part of San Jose, it's still Santa Clara County, and we should, all of us, be united, and you know, we all need each other, you know. So kind of want to bridge that gap and not be so divisive again. And then so this is going to be part downtown San Jose, third in Santa Clara.
I kind of see the buildings in the back.
The building, I'm going to merge it with the owl's face. And I did the owl because I just wanted to put a cap. So it begins with the mountain lion and it ends with the horned owl. A horned owl is indigenous to this area.
Okay.
So I want, just like it started with nature, I wanted to end it with nature.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, when humans aren't even here no more, I'm sure there'll still be nature. You know what I mean? We've taken over, you know, for something people would say for the worst, you know, as humans on Earth. You know what I mean? We kind of just, we're like the number one predator in a way. You know what I mean? So it makes a lot of sense to be like, all right, you know, you gotta know what's brought this world to be the way it is and why it's beautiful and everything in nature. And I feel like honestly that's pretty dope, because you would say, I mean, as humans we've done a lot to destroy the earth, you know. So that's what I think. Has there ever been any like close calls and like ever been arrested for graffiti ever, like?
Yeah, me and Biz got arrested. The last piece I did with Biz, we were doing it on the east side. He was staying over there by Plato Arroyo Park, on McGee, and we used to go paint occasionally at Frito-Lay, the Frito-Lay warehouses. They had them back there, and so they were like, so the warehouses had like an alleyway in between the backs of them, and the trains used to go back there and unload and stuff. And so like during the weekends, there's nobody in the warehouse because they're closed. And so it was like you could paint in the daytime and no one's gonna see you, because it's an enclosure. There's a wall and a wall. You know,
a train
but the trains weren't coming in.
Oh, okay. So this was just an area. Okay.
And so we'd go over there and paint. We were painting, and then one of the guys that came with us, he was a youngster, younger than us, and he had never painted before, but he wanted to learn how to paint and stuff. And but he wanted to paint with us, and we were like, "No, you're gonna mess our piece up." And he got bored of watching, so he was like breaking bottles and throwing rocks at the rolling doors and stuff. And so somebody called the cops saying that somebody was trying to break into the warehouse, and they came and they cornered us. You know, it just I didn't even run.
You're just like, it's all right. So you just stayed put. Went through with it.
I was a minor still at that time. I was 17.
Oh, okay.
So
damn, right there.
And Biz was 8. No, he was 19 at that time. And so he got charged as dole. He went to county jail, and when he was fighting it, I got probation for it. And once I turned 18, they just like, I was done. The system didn't care. You know, they didn't pursue it or anything.
Okay.
So then they just pushed it all on Biz. And they were like trying to make him pay like thousands of dollars, you know.
It's a lot of money for a 19-year-old.
And you know, back then, $1,000, you know, $2,000-$3,000 was a lot. You know, today $2,000-$3,000 is nothing. You know, but back then, that's a lot.
It's super uncalled for.
You know, and so I can't remember what happened, but I think he had community service and stuff like that. But that was the last time that That was the last piece I did with him, and that was the last piece I did. That was '88 until I got out in 2013.
Damn. What would you say, like, let's start with in the past, like, what were your top 5 writers that you can remember you, like, looked up to, or you just saw, like, oh, their shit's dope, you know? Top 5 writers in your opinion, and then we'll go into, like, more present day, because there's obviously a lot more writers out now, but
yeah.
So back then.
Well, I would say for some local and then some that I seen, like in Spray Can and Subway Art, would be of course Nexus, because when they started TUF, and they were the first ones that were doing productions, you know, and we didn't even call them productions back then. We didn't even, you know, there was no name for them, but it was top to bottom under the bridge. Most of the people, when they went paint under the bridge, they just paint as high as they could reach, or maybe with the milk crate, you know. So it was like 6-7 feet high, but they were going all the way to the top of the underpass.
Damn.
And then they would do their names, and it was all the way up there, and they do big old character, the whole size of the wall. Yeah. And that was unheard of, and nobody's seen that. But because, you know, like I said, one of his boys was from the East Coast, you know, and so he like had that influence upon them. So they pushed themselves to get there.
I wonder how they did it without the extendo ladders. I mean, they probably just brought down something.
So he said that they were stacking milk crates.
No
so
way.
you're talking about, you know how like they had that milk crate challenge? Longo? Yeah. They were doing it before that.
Oh, shoot.
That's what he told me.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what he told me. Because we were talking about it, and then he told me, that's what he told me.
Yeah, that's not a more of a recent thing. That's like something they've been doing a long time, and which makes sense. It's all it is milk crates, but that challenge, I've never done it. I've seen it only on social media, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, fools just falling on their ass and getting hurt.
And then Aladdin was really dope too. Yeah. So them two, Picasso was like super clean, like, and even his sketches, they were just like. And then there was another guy, he just did all characters, and he was in Lords too, Leonardo. He was a black guy, and his characters were like super clean. It just looked like they were printed on the paper and stuff, and he just had like, he could draw all these different characters, whatever you think of. And so it was them. Then if you go like into Subway Art and Spray Can Art, it would be like Futura 2000, who's still painting today, because he was doing something that, you know, that wasn't, he was merging like calligraphy and like handwriting with graffiti, and that was something that was not being done. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, definitely more of an influence.
And another person that had a lot of notoriety that I looked up to was Crayon too, out of the Bay Area. Yeah. You know.
Definitely.
Because he came, I forgot, there was a show that used to come on Saturdays. I can't remember the name of it. And that's where we seen Crayon. He was on there. He was one of the featured artists. But they used to go and feature like skateboarders, BMX bikers, and surfers. And he was one of the featured people. And that's how we first heard about him. Because we weren't even venturing out yet to Frisco or the Bay Area at all.
No way. You guys kind of just stayed.
Not that at that time. Okay. This was still while we were still in the infancy stages. You know, it was pre-Lords.
Damn. You know. Is there any like newer writers that you can kind of shout out? You know, without getting their head too big, like, you know. Just being like, oh, okay, I've seen this guy up or this guy. Is there anybody like that kind of stands out nowadays?
I mean, I see people up, but it's like, I mean, they're bombers. You know?
Yeah.
I don't really go lurking, so I can't really like say like that I've seen somebody. There might be somebody down there that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't really. You know,
For sure. Sure.
You know.
Yeah, like I know people mention like writers that are up right now, and yeah, I would say that like you're right. They're mostly just bombers because I don't see them really. I mean, sometimes you see some pieces out of these guys, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is nowadays. Like if you hit freeway signs or something, you just become like the best, and it's like it's not like about that. It's just the kids nowadays. You're up, and
yeah.
I mean,
and a lot of respect to them. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Have you ever hit a freeway sign? Have you ever been up?
Not a freeway sign, but a
couple
of freeways on the walls.
Yeah. To kind of like wrap it up, what would you like tell the people, like as a closing thing, like maybe some inspiring, something that would help them get through to become a better writer or a better person in general? Like, is there anything that you could tell someone like just starting out or anything like that? Like,
I would say that, you know, to not hesitate. You know, everybody who once started as a novice. You know, we didn't get to where we're at, you know, and not to say that I'm at my peak, you know, because there's still a lot of areas that I can improve upon, and that's part of, you know, continuous growth and development as an artist. But, you know, I wouldn't have got to where I am today had I just not put forth any action. You know, when I first started painting with the brush, I gave away my TV, and I didn't watch TV for a whole year. So that time that I would usually watch TV, I was painting. You know, even if it was for an hour, but it was usually more, 2 to 3 hours every day that I could, and that helped me grow within a year. And so that's what I would say, is that if you want to develop some type of skill, whatever it is, you want to do something with your life, you got to give something up, or you got to make, if you don't give something up, you got to make the time for it. You know, you don't necessarily have to stop doing something, you just got to make time for the development of that skill.
Right.
And you can't let fear hold you back, because everybody started as a beginner. There are very few child prodigies, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, there's few select ones that started, you know, they're just natural.
Yeah.
And it just comes to them, you know, and they don't really have to put forth effort. It's just natural.
Yep.
But not everybody's like that. And so I would just say that you just have to put forth the time and the effort.
There you go. Well, Wisper, bro, I appreciate you having me over here and everything. Yeah, man, I can't wait to see more productions, more, you know, murals and everything, and, you know, and San Jose is looking better and better. It's like more accepting now, it seems like, of you know, your guys, like, together we create. I've seen you guys in a lot of different areas, and, you know, doing more with it, and I hope to see more come from it, and it just keep growing, you know, because it's still putting San Jose on the map more and more. And yeah, I want people to really learn about the history of this city, and, you know, the great writers from this city and everything. So I appreciate you doing this, man.
Thank you.
All right, bro.